Hello again, this is Fiendish with Dimension Touring, and welcome to this installment of the Tinker Tools video guides, which is where we'll continue on with copy and paste, and this time we're working with distance offsets. I want to make a basic floor here, so I need to copy and paste this rectangle. And there's a couple ways I can figure out the offset. I have it memorized, but that doesn't really help anybody. So we're going to select rectangle. We're going to pull in the offset calculator now, and it's going to tell me how far I need to move it. I know I only want to move in one axis, so I'm not going to mess with the widget right now. And I know I want not 10. I want 2 more copies of this pasted. So I'm going to hit copy. And yes, we are just going to go right into it now. Copy and paste. Okay, so now I'm going to select all these and I'm going to move it. And now, with those all selected, I'm going to do another row, but I want to raise it up, up 9 game units. And with this, I don't need to have multiple items selected because it counts these 3 rectangles as one item. So I'm going to hit copy and paste. So how did I come up with 9? Well, I came up with 9 because that's Z. I mean, it gives me the offset right there. But there we go. The width of a rectangle is 9 game units. So with this one, we're working with distance offsets. So I want this long wall here because that's going to be easier to use. Now I can, to figure out how much room I've got to work with, I can either select all 3 rectangles or just the 2 on the ends, which is what I went with. So I know I've got rectangles. I want selection delta. Okay, so we know we've got about 54 game units here to play with because that midpoint, that selection point was at 26.997. So I'm going to take a basic pillar, just make a little pillar here because we're using distance offsets. I need copy and paste open. So 54, not stone, sure, granite. Okay, so just like our basic copy and paste from the last video, I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to paste one of these. Need to shrink it down. And then I want another cube. And we'll raise this one up a little bit. So when I offset, I can either copy and paste this all as a group, or I can do each one individually. It all depends on how much precision I want in the overall copy and paste. I can either eyeball it or I can just use that. And so if I know I've got about 54, let's try to offset that 53. Copy and paste. And that was too far. Let's shrink that down to 43. Since I'm not changing anything except for that offset, I don't need to select the original pieces and recopy those. I just need to keep hit and paste once I make my adjustments. And there is some trial and error involved if you're not doing the mathematical part of it. Okay, so that's good there. So now let's see what we've got here. I'm going to open up the offset calculator again. Poles. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in the move window. And I'm going to keep that. I'm going to take this set here, select absolute and as group, and then move. So now that's centered. Or instead of doing all that, we can just select all these, because we could keep using the offset calculator to make sure that we're symmetrical between each set of pillars, or we know we have about 38 game units between the selection point of this pole and the selection point of that pole. Say we want, let's say we want a total of 10 sets, so we're going to keep 8. We're going to offset by 6. I'm going to copy and paste. And then we'll just see how this comes out. It may not come out right. Yeah. So we'll pull all that up. And let's try 5 and then shrinking this to 5.5. This is why I always like to say whenever I'm writing guides or anything that experimenting is always, you know, the key, because I don't know what might be comfortable for you. So let's just try one more. There we go. So that's pretty close. And we've got that there. And then if I want to add more, I can add more and just keep going until I wind up with a completed structure. So now one of the questions I get asked the most is about stairs. And to make a straight set of stairs is pretty simple. Let's just use some plain wood for this. I want to drop a plank and I want to size it excuse me, to wherever is I'm comfortable with. Now the one thing with like straight edge stairs, the step height, you can get caught on them, your mount could go flying on them, so you don't want to set a step height any higher than about 0.25. But for this one, let me get rid of that sticky. So we're going to do the stair and the riser all at the same time, because that's a pretty easy way to do it. So we're going to copy these. We're going to go positive in the Z. Let's try 0.5. We'll go up 0.25. And then we'll offset. Now remember, each of these items is going to just apply to one selection point. So when we're pasting multiple copies, it's going to end up being 2, but it's only going to count as 1. So we'll say 6 and then paste. And it's just like that. And as you can see with the 0.25, I'm definitely skipping and bouncing, but we'll keep that because now we want to do the sides. So we'll put those in. And I'm not going to worry about doing a distance offset on that piece right there. I'm just going to line it up manually. And you can do all 4 pieces at the same time. It doesn't have to be done like this. But we're going to keep the same settings that we just used. Forward 0.5, up 0.25. We're going to copy and paste. Oh, but it only... So let's drop that down to 5. Copy and paste, because I forgot to have multiple items checked. Okay, so there goes the basic set of stairs. Now if I want to add a railing, if I don't want it on every stair, like say I just want it on the first one, then the third one, then here. So 1, 2, 3 is going to be the number of copies. I have to double how high I'm going up, so I'm going up 0.5 and I'm going forward 1. So we're going to select these poles and copy and then paste. And that came out about right. And then if I want to go further with it, I can of course add an actual rail. And when you're talking about offsets, the offset is never going to change. But sometimes when you do these manual rotations like this, they won't line up right. So let's go back to the settings that we had. And we've got both these items copied. I'm going to copy and paste. And that actually turned out pretty good. Oh, I actually forgot to reduce it by 1 because now I've got something sticking out the top. And so there you go. Pretty simple and basic set of stairs. And that's how easy it is to do a distance offset. And of course you can get as crazy as you want to with it. If I want to do a decorative overlay here, let me get rid of this. And say I want to do some, maybe clean up my bags. Say if I want to just do some little doodles here. We'll guesstimate 5.5. Should put that roughly center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if it doesn't come out exactly centered, it's a pretty easy matter to just kind of shift everything down. I knew this one was going to come off here on the end because while all these are the same, the other one is not. So if I want to copy something, now say I want to shrink it by 0.25. I want to come out 5, otherwise the new skin will be tucked in behind the old one. I don't want to use those. There we go. I'll try black marble. So that worked out pretty well. And then we'll go back to the settings that we originally had, which was 5.5. We don't want this. We do want the rest. And then remember, I just had moved all of those mossy brick tiles, so that screwed up my copy and paste for the second round. But what I can do, now that I have the first one pretty much set, is remove all these, come over here to this one, and just select both items, copy and paste, and it'll make 6 copies of that. And that's how you do a distance offset. Join me next time. We'll get into the fun part, and we'll be doing some spinning with rotational offsets. Until then, happy building.